Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Culture Wave Media Network. We are back to discuss episode 3 of the new Apple TV series Pluribus, which is, of course, from Vince Gilligan, creator of such shows as Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. This is his new hit show already. It's already at the top of the Nielsen charts. We're here to discuss episode 3 with you. I'm going to be one of your hosts. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined by Vinny Albano.
Hello.
And the return of Zach Miller.
How's it going, man?
What's up? His review of Running Man might already be on the channel at this point, but we're not sure. But we did discuss last week, Vinny and I, in the coverage of the first 2 episodes, that we're going to have a lot of rotating hosts because there's a lot of interest on the channel and the network from a lot of us here, our whole crew in this show, a lot of people watching it. So Zach's making his debut for Pluribus right now. We're going to also be seeing Mark Iacobino and Sean Villa coming on from time to time, and Vinny and I might rotate out. Zach is going to rotate out. But we'll start with Zach because we didn't get your kind of initial thoughts on the show last time we recorded. So go through 3 episodes. What are your overall kind of takeaways, your thoughts on what Gilligan is doing with Pluribus thus far?
Yeah, dude. He's a master at creating like slow cooking details, and that's something that always intrigued people with Breaking Bad. He would start his episodes off with like mystery and a detail that would show up later in the episode or later in the season. You don't know what happens to certain people. So there was always that intrigue in a lot of his other shows. You can always feel that he's super meticulous with his storylines. This is like an awesome sci-fi. It's easy to digest. You don't have to have your head sent into space and like the ability to understand astronomy and physics and all of these crazy things to get the tension and the sensibility that Vince brings to this show. He just has a very good way at framing tension. It's DJ, you were telling me like this is a multi-genre show, which I totally agree with. It has so many different things going for it. Rhea Seehorn is getting her flowers so far for what she deserves. She was so good in Better Call Saul throughout. She deserves any role that comes her way. She deserves so many leading lady roles that she's great, and it's a great character so far. One of my all-time favorite movies is Invasion of the Body Snatchers with Donald Sutherland. It's a remake of the 50s one. It's like the second movie, but that movie is so good because it's built on paranoia. The first 2 episodes, you're like, who's infected, who's not. It's reminiscent of Body Snatchers because it has things like they're disposing of the bodies. They're trying to all create a hive mind and create one thing from outer space. You don't fully understand the things, and you don't have to. It's really just across the board, very creative. And it's nice to see something like this into a long form series, and hearing that it might go 4 seasons is really cool too.
Yeah. I mean, the fact, so, cause one of the things you talked about, Vinny, and thank you, Zach, for giving your initial thoughts.
Yeah.
You talked, Vinny, last week about how you're like, I just don't know where they're going to go from here. And I do think the beauty in what Zach just said is the fact that across Gilligan's sort of brain, the way he's able to craft story, like even the fact that Breaking Bad was built on like this story, obviously with Walter White, and there's so many other characters that kind of interweave between that. But then you go ahead and you make a prequel series for Saul, and you learn a lot more about his character that a lot of people, I believe, Mark has said on off the record or off the network, I should say, I guess, that I think he likes Better Call Saul more as a series than Breaking Bad. So like there are fans out there that like even the prequel series revolving around Jimmy McGill more than what we get in Walter White, which is Breaking Bad is one of the greatest shows ever. A lot of people regard it as that. And so I'm excited to think and to know that this series has a long life, because at the same time, you know, there's this impending thing of like the hive mind essentially is like, well, we're going to figure out, Carol, what the problem is, and we're going to get it fixed. But in the meantime, anything you need, we're here for you. Yeah. And so it's this crazy dichotomy that she's grappling with, or anybody I think would grapple with it. But the interesting thing is that's not what Vince Gilligan is doing in his storytelling, right? So much of this, Zach and I were talking off camera before you got here, is that so much of what this episode really embodies, and you start to see and peel back the layers more, is that Carol is a miserable fucking person, a miserable human being, that it doesn't matter what anything she does, any experience she can have with people that she claimed to have loved before all this happened, it's not enough for her. It doesn't enrich her enough to give her fulfillment in her life. That, to me, is the most interesting part about all of this, because you're grappling with the morality. For you, what is your takeaway with this episode and kind of that kind of thinking that Vince is trying to maybe get across to his audience, especially in this episode in particular?
Yeah, it's, funny enough, we were just talking about Barry, the show, because I'm binge watching Barry right now, and I brought up how I love that show is based. Every episode, the entirety of the show is the philosophical question of, is Barry a bad person? What makes a bad person? Can somebody be redeemed from doing atrocities? And this show seems to be based within that philosophical question of, like, what is what is happiness? Like, what is happiness? And I have really nothing to add to that. I don't even know. So I guess this is kind of not really a good answer to your question.
Well, I'll give you a
follow-up.
follow-up. That question in and of itself is not one that is talked about in general society.
Yeah.
It's certainly not talked about in pop culture, right? Because there's not a lot of, and I know that there was this big awakening. I don't know if either of you guys watched the show, and it's ironic it's on the same network, but Ted Lasso was a phenomenon. It was a complete phenomenon. It was an overnight success, basically. It was based on this character that came out of an SNL sketch that never necessarily was this huge thing. And it's definitely, to this date, still the biggest show Apple's ever released. Jason Sudeikis won multiple Emmys for it. The show has been lauded over its crazy numbers. And so much of what is that show is that it's trying to give something in hope to the world, right? Amidst the time. And we're not going to make this a political thing. But my follow-up question for you is really, as a viewer, is it intriguing to try to understand the answer to that question?
Oh, 100%.
If Vince is going for it, and what about that is intriguing to you?
Yeah, 100%. It is. What is it so intriguing about is because it's human nature it's a question of human nature. It's everyone wants to say, like, what do you want to be when you're older? I just want to be happy, right? I want to be happy. Like, everybody's ultimate goal is to be happy, I guess. But then again, you have to mention that life, if you're happy all the time, that doesn't make life special, right? Life is up and down. So you need to experience the lows so you can experience the highs. Right? But now this hive mind is like, oh, this is bliss. They seem to be happy all the time, this hive mind. So are they really living? And that's what intrigues me. That's what makes it so intriguing to me. And I think it's just such a awesome question to pose within like a thesis of a TV show that you're saying is going to be potentially 4 seasons, which is pretty wild to me.
Yeah, there's a lot that we can kind of try to dive into with that whole philosophical question. I think that we get a big extreme in this episode, the biggest that we've gotten thus far through 3 episodes, and what's going to be, I believe, an 8-episode first season. This is supposed to be going, I believe, until December 26th. So the biggest thing, kind of jumping ahead, and then Zach, I'm curious on your thoughts on just this whole sequence, and then Vinny, we'll go back to you and again make it like a roundtable discussion kind of. But she asks for a hand grenade, and she does it in a way that it's a very sarcastic sort of explanation, but this hive mind entirely interprets it as we need to do anything in our power to make this woman be happy, to make her feel fulfilled, to make her feel like she is getting exactly what she wants. Because right now, she is dealing with the most tragic moment of her entire life, that there is nobody around that she can relate to. Everything that her life was based in is gone. And we get this moment where you start to see the other side of it, where Carol's character is welcoming. You remember the character's name? I keep thinking Pirate Lady. What's the character name that is like our figurehead of the hive mind?
Oh gosh.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'll look into it. But just, we get a lot of that kind of side of seeing that she wants to welcome her into her home. She goes, "Do you things drink?" So she won't even call her a her, even though this is a hive mind embodying a human being that did exist and does exist, and she still has all her memories and things like that.
Right.
So that's also the intriguing thing to me, is because you see the beginning, middle, event, and end of that sequence where she asks for the grenade. She gets a little too belligerent, and she decides, fuck it, I'm going to pull the pin, and it's going to be fine, and who gives a shit? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter anyway. And when this figurehead of the hive mind kind of... Zosia, thank you. Zosia takes the bullet, so to speak. She winds up getting really injured, and she could have died. Yeah. And then Carol winds up saving her. So Zach, starting with you in that sequence and those kind of questions that poses, what did you think about how that was handled by Carol and Zosia?
So you're talking about like just hand grenade?
That sequence in general,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think when we're thinking about like the philosophical idea too with happiness and that kind of thing, I think there's two different things going on, but it's a breadcrumb to me of a detail that we're figuring out what this alien DNA species is, because to me I think it's actually about self-preservation. I think it's like they're not actually trying to make her happy. I think they're actually just trying to prevent her from causing more harm to them because of the negativity that has an effect on them, a literal seizure that can cause them to shut down and kill some of them in a situation that they were just going about their day. There was the incident in the second episode where the one woman was saying, my family died in a car crash because the seizure happened and they got in a car accident and they were killed. So, and it killed other people throughout the world. So I almost feel like they're trying to keep the remaining people who are still in human form just at bay and at peace while they're figuring out how to convert them. You know, I think it's more preservation than it is happiness, but I do see the happiness sequence of like there's one in many. I think it is like the hive mind is the many, but the individual is what they're afraid of, I think, because like my idea of happiness is different than your idea of happiness, and that could conflict, you know, like I think that's what they're afraid of is that individualism. But then yes, it goes into the whole idea of like happiness as like they don't have souls anymore. They're not the artists. Like yes, they can do all of the things. They're not individually smart. They're not individually artists anymore. Like they're all the same thing now. They're all skills and ones and zeros, which is an interesting conversation. But the idea that they are trying to satisfy and then just like there's going to be an arc for Rhea Seahorn to just realize that she can't be this miserable person anymore, and she has to, like, because she's one of only a few people left on Earth, she has to be like some kind of beacon to inform humanity, and she can't be the negative side of humanity anymore. I don't know.
I like how you brought up the thing, because I think a lot of what remains to be seen and we're starting to lay the breadcrumbs of is that I do think one of the other central themes of the show is identity in general, and I think that's a lot of what Carol has to figure out along the way. But what do you think, Vinny, about that sequence in general with the grenade and kind of, again, more of the moral questions of what the show is presenting thus far?
I mean, it's all great. That whole sequence is amazing. What I loved is immediately when they have that split diopter shot where you see the grenade in the foreground.
My brother mentioned it specifically because it's beautiful to look at.
Yeah, it's beautiful to look at, and it's immediately, oh my God, they're doing the Hitchcock thing, right? The whole Hitchcock writing advice where he's like, you have two people like building suspense. You put a bomb under the table. You have a literal bomb between the conversation, which is you know, it couldn't be more on the nose, but in like general audiences are never gonna catch on. But it's great. It's great. It's great. I love the questions that we talked about, the philosophical questions that the scripts and the concept is based in. I can't get the word.
You got it.
But I love the questions that it poses for the future of the plot, right? When this episode ends with, oh, could I get an atom bomb? And he's basically like, we would question it, but yes. That's like, oh shit. What if we, by season 4, have just atomic warfare? I could go, like what if she becomes like, I don't know, like so many good questions of like where this can go now and the possibilities that the plot can take, which is super cool. And also my last thought on the whole, piggybacking off of what you said about how individuality is gone and how that directly associates with our happiness as humans and what make, humans are humans because of our individuality. That's humanity. And I think of like, okay, they're trying to be super sufficient, what are they doing with the food, right? Like they're all this shit, right? But who chooses to paint the company building blue instead of red? That's an individual opinion.
That's
right?
a choice.
That's a choice, right? And then I think about why Vince Gilligan set her as an artist. She's a novelist. She shares her writing, her art with the world, and people come back with her, fans, personal experiences. This changed me. Raban means everything to me. Obviously, she's miserable, and in episode 1, we see that she has conflicting feelings towards that, and she really wanted to write that real personal, gritty novel. It's never going to happen anymore, which is I think that's the most tragic thing about this series and about her character, is that can never happen. It can never happen anymore. Her purpose cannot be fulfilled anymore because there's no individuality to feed. There's no fans anymore. There's no
unless she can recontextualize her purpose, which also could be a big thing going forward. Maybe her new purpose is going to be enacting the confidence to go back on all the things that she couldn't do to now do something that is this larger overall thing that she needs to accomplish in order to either get back to a society that she wants or be accepting of what is or whatever we're going to get to, because there's, like you said, there's so much to chew on with this, and you don't really know where they're going to go. Like they have, it's one of those shows where they have the ability to just kill people off like that because they're, at the end of the day, like, you don't know if they're going to be essential to the plot or not. Like Zosia is this character now that you're starting to feel something for, because at the same time she is an ear to Carol. And I love how this episode opens on a flashback of kind of Carol being in this experience that is obviously very near and dear to Helen's heart, where Helen is like, she's like, I've always wanted to come here. It's in Norway, and they're in this like ice hotel, and everything is made of ice. And it's funny because like I'm watching the episode with my mom, my brother, and I love how you brought up, Zach, you're like, yeah, everybody has different ideas of happiness. My brother's like, I would love to be there because he loves the cold. My mom's like, I would never want to do that. So it's literally creating conversation and commentary within the audience. And you see it because Helen, and they do it in the most poetic of ways, obviously, of giving her this glimpse of one of the most natural, beautiful things in the Northern Lights that you could possibly see in front of her face. And she's still miserable. Like,
and she's obsessive too. Like with the whole book idea too. She's like, she can't be present in this moment too with her spouse. So it's just like, oh, how was the book performing? How high was it on the list? Like that kind of all those details. And her like, she's neurotic. Like she's completely detached from this person's happiness. Like she doesn't have her own, like you're saying, the identity crisis is something very on the nose.
And that's a big thing, even within, like, if you want to talk about mental health or mental illness, it's like so much of it, even in relationships with whether it is a significant other or it's with your own family or whatever it might be. So many people like want to be these fixers all the time too, and they want to make sure that they're creating this environment that works not only for them, but they want another person to feel good. And it's like, if you can't feel good about yourself and what you're accomplishing and what you're doing with your life, you can make life miserable for everybody else. And that's a big thing that I think the show is posing too. Did you have any other? Sorry, go ahead, Zach.
Oh no, I was gonna say I have two big questions.
Okay.
Based off of this episode. Well, even the first two, but so the atom bomb one, they've addressed that they don't kill, right? Like they're not technically violent people, although they in their takeover they killed people because their DNA didn't mix with the host's body and that kind of thing. So they killed a lot of people that way. If they gave Carol a nuclear bomb or even like a gun and Carol kills one of them, I'm interested to see what point will they intervene in keeping Carol from killing other people, because that's like the one area that we haven't seen her break yet. I thought she was going to do something with the hand grenade and kill Zosia or someone else outside because she was so frustrated, and then something was going to happen. So I think there's going to be a point where Carol or one of the remaining humans are pushed to the brink, kill somebody in an accident or purposefully, and there's a consequence, I think. But then also the other big question, the big picture question for the show is when the takeover is complete, like they actually, like, let's just say they achieve their goal, like what happens then? Like, do they all exist on Earth completely, or do they go to another planet and continue this cycle, or do they, like, what's the end goal? I guess is like that's a great thing that is another tribute to Gilligan's writing, is it's like that's in the background of what Carol has to face every day now at this point. Like per episode, she's facing conflict, but she's still trying to figure out what the hell's going to happen to me if I don't figure something out before the clock. Like he literally puts a ticking clock on the screen, which is great. But big questions.
Yeah. You have anything on the theories for either of those questions?
No. I really said everything. I have no theories, partly because I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no, but that's good. Like,
No, it
I
is.
also feel. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. I'm like spitting all over the place. I also feel that I'm not creating theories because I want the show to just take me in any direction.
Yeah, definitely. No, I get that. I would say the one thing, just commenting on your first question, Zach, and I think I brought this up in our review last week, Vinny.
Yeah.
I love that in the back of my head, I can't stop thinking about Zosia saying, well, Carol, don't forget, like, whatever you guys do together as humans, like, we can't control what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked, I don't think we've talked about this on air yet, but you had said one of the big things that you were curious about was the way that episode 2 ends on this big cliffhanger.
Yes.
And we don't get any answers to that cliffhanger because she decides to make a choice to get off of her plane and stop Air Force One, and Air Force One stops. And then the next time we see her, well, the next time we jump into episode 3, we start with a flashback, and then she's just on the plane in the air.
Yeah.
So I think there's more that remains to be seen with that. And again, that can play into this whole thing that Zach, you've brought up multiple times now on this pod, that Vince just likes to lay the groundwork in a really interesting way that is going to keep your mind going and keep your mind spinning.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like already anxious and anticipating like the way that this season is going to end, to where I'm going to be like, why the fuck do we have to wait? Like, what? Because you know, like that feeling of there's so much ambiguity and not knowing what this show is going to bring us week to week. And I haven't felt like the only other show that has made me feel this way recently is Severance, which I another show on Apple that I love. But it's a smaller story. It's more in the realm of like this organization that exists within the society versus like the whole world is literally now basically a hive mind and she could barely speak. Like there's only 4 other people she could speak English to, and some of them have broken English and they don't even understand everything that she's saying. So a lot of curiosity, a lot of excitement coming up with that. Only other thing we haven't discussed is the supermarket sequence, which I just think there's nothing in terms of story there, but I just think it's hilarious. It's like a great visual.
It's a breadcrumb too. It's like, why are they collecting food?
Yeah, definitely. But it is, again, she has the ability. We're starting to see more that she could just get anything she wants whenever she wants. So that'll play into the plot as well. But excited to keep seeing what we're going to get with Pluribus. Let us know in the comments what are your guys' thoughts on episode 3 if you guys watched it already. Let us know if you guys are enjoying the series so far. If you have theories, if you guys have questions, we'll have a conversation with you guys in the comments. We'd love to do that. Give this video a like if you guys can, and subscribe to us here at the Culture Wave Media Network. We will be back next week with another episode of Pluribus. We're going to be covering, don't know who's going to be at the desk yet, but we're looking forward to covering it. We're also covering tons of movies on the channel right now. As I said, Vinny and Zach just did their review right before this of Running Man, so that's either up on the channel or it's coming soon. We have a review up right now for Train Dreams, which is coming to Netflix this Friday. We had a chance to see it at Montclair and TIFF respectively, so you guys could check that out. Our review for Frankenstein is up. I'm wearing the hoodie right now, so there's tons of stuff for you guys to check out. Also, you guys can follow us on social media. All that stuff is below me in the video, and it's also in our YouTube description. So just signing off, I'm Darian Scalamoni.
I'm Vinny Albano.
I'm Zach Miller.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is the culture.